This is a video that I really didn't want to make. Then something happened that changed my mind, so here we go. Hey, my name's Kevin and I release a weekly video here on MCrider that focuses on road skill and road strategy to help make you a better rider. If you like this video, please subscribe on YouTube, and if you want to see every episode released over the last 3 years of MCrider, you can do that at MCrider.com. So let's get right to this. I'll try to give you a quick recap of how we got to where we are today, and then I'll tell you what changed my mind on this subject and what caused me to release this video. So a few months ago, I released a video titled How to Be a Motorcyclist. If you were paying close attention to the channel, that video just disappeared from YouTube. It was there one day and it was gone the next. It seems the video hurt some feelings of some other parties, and they decided to appeal to YouTube and have the video banned for what they said was copyright reasons. Now, my use of the clip was legal and it falls under a term called fair use. So let me tell you what I did. I used an 8-second clip from another YouTube video that the original video was about 30 minutes in length. But I didn't just copy that clip, I used it to illustrate a point of a much broader concept. I used those 8 seconds to make a point in my own original work that was 10 minutes in length. So it was a small part of the video I used. The use of this clip is well within the rights of fair use to be used on MCrider. Now, I'm not going to wade into the weeds of what fair use is and what it's not. If you want to know more on that subject, just Google the term fair use and YouTube and you'll find their policy. But my use of the clip clearly fell under the terms of fair use, and I was okay in using it had I wanted to appeal further up the legal system in YouTube. But our original owner appealed to YouTube. I didn't want to dispute the case because it's never my intention to offend. And in this instance, if the original YouTuber was offended by my use, please accept my apologies. But sometimes as an instructor, we have to step across the lines and we have to be real and upfront with other riders. So it's important to know what was in the original 8 seconds of the video that I used. Our rider was riding on a 3-lane section of road in an urban environment. The 2 left lanes were at a full stop as traffic was backed up. Our rider, who was in the far left lane, changed lanes to the right and accelerated past the 2 lines of stopped cars. His speed differential was pretty high between himself and the stopped cars in traffic, and unknown to our rider, the cars ahead left a gap so that a left-turning vehicle could turn through the stopped traffic and make that left turn. Well, our car and our rider met at that place in the road, causing a fairly high-speed crash, broadside crash, and the rider was lucky that he wasn't killed in this instance. So who is at fault here? Well, legally the car was, but as I've said on MCrider before, who paid the price for the crash? The rider did. He was the one who was almost killed in this instance. Was this crash avoidable? Absolutely. 100% every time if good road strategy had been used by our rider. Our rider in the original clip kept saying that he was legally not at fault, and he is correct, but he didn't have to have that crash. He does wonder if he should have been going a little bit slower in this instance, and I say yes. But to sum the crash up, our rider accelerated into a road trap, and then he didn't have the time or the skills to avoid a very serious crash. As it relates to MCrider's use of this video, he states that he wasn't upset with me for using the video, but he didn't like all the comments that he was seeing from other people, and I think that's what really bothered him, so he appealed to YouTube. Well, fair enough. What's done is done. It's time to move on. But then what pops up in my suggested videos just the other day is another video of the same rider having another crash. This time running wide in a curve, and at a higher rate of speed, and again, he was very lucky that he wasn't killed. Now hear me on this, I have nothing against this other rider. I really don't. And that's why I'm not mentioning names, and especially why I'm not using any clips this time. I don't want to cause embarrassment for him. Plus, I want this video to stay live. I have nothing against this other rider whatsoever. And truth be told, I'm not even talking to him in this video. He may not be reachable. Hopefully after 2 near-death experiences, he's ready to listen. But I am talking to the thousands of other riders who are like him, but still have an ear to hear. I've always said that riding a motorcycle is not for everyone. Some people just don't have the nerve to do so, and the reward they get from riding is not worth the risk for them. And I totally get it. I applaud these people who understand that about themselves and choose not to ride. But then there's another subset of riders who should not ride, but don't have the self-awareness to realize it. This week I'm talking to you. So how do you know if you're one of those riders who shouldn't be on a bike? Well, here's some traits of people that, in my opinion, should not ride a motorcycle. You lack self-discipline. Riding a motorcycle requires proper technique. I teach technique here on MCrider, but it's a small part of riding safely. Beyond that, it's showing proper self-restraint on the road. If you can't control the throttle hand riding on the street, a motorcycle is not for you. Once you learn the fundamentals of control, it's road strategy that's going to get you the rest of the way there. And our goal as riders is not to get there quick, but to get some gray whiskers like I'm showing here. You're a know-it-all. Passing the basic rider course does not mean you're a fully qualified rider. It's the first step, and it's a really small one at that. Statistically speaking, riders who pass the basic rider course are no safer than riders who don't. Take more advanced training. Practice on your own. I've got a field guide that'll help guide your practices. If speed's your thing, get on a track and take a track day and get that speed out of your system on the track, but don't use it on the street. But the most important thing is to keep learning. I'm a fairly proficient rider, but I know better street riders than me. I know better riders on the track than me. I know better riders in the cone than me, and I can learn something from all of them. If you don't know better riders, you need to get out more. Your first motorcycle is a 600cc or up sport bike. And I've got nothing against sport bikes or people who ride them. I think they're the most beautiful motorcycles ever designed, but they're not starter bikes. If you've ever heard someone say, man, don't get a small bike, you'll get bored with it too soon and you'll want something different, and you followed that advice, it might be time to look in the mirror. Now, does that mean that if you get a larger bike, you'll crash and kill yourself? Not necessarily. But for the general public, there are some tried and true practices that if you follow those when you're starting out, you're less likely to be involved in an accident. There's a lot of wisdom in starting with a smaller bike and working your way up. If your pride gets in the way of starting with a manageable bike at first, you might want to look back at points 1 and 2. You have a lot of near misses in your car, or you often suffer from road rage. It's one thing to have a fender bender in a car. It's a whole other story on a motorcycle. Your driving habits are a decent predictor of what your riding habits will be as a motorcycle rider. If you're prone to road rage and protecting your 12 feet of turf in a car, you might need to think twice about riding a motorcycle. Because you could trust me on this one, more people will cut you off on a motorcycle than they ever do when you're driving in your car, and you have to have the temperament to deal with it. Road rage and motorcycling have no place together. In fact, you guys with road rage in your cars and on your motorcycles need to do us all a favor and take the bus. You think motorcycles are all about doing burnouts, riding wheelies, and going really fast, splitting through traffic out on the highway. Any rider with a small amount of skill can get a motorcycle up to speed and ride it in a straight line down the road. Add a little bit more skill and they can ride it really fast in a straight line. Man, that throttle feels really good rolling on it going down the highway. But throw in a curve sharper than they expected, or a car pulling out in front of them, or gravel in the road, or a dog running out into the road, or. And we could keep going all day. Our rider's not prepared for that, and they crash and die. And the world loses a person that can never be replaced. A unique person who I believe that in spite of their flaws is created in the very image of God and has the capacity to reflect God in a way that no other person can. And life is precious. You only get one shot at it. If you mess it up because you're too proud to listen and learn, motorcycling is not for you. It is always my goal to promote motorcycling on this channel. I want more riders. I want more young riders. I even want more fast young riders on the track. And why can't we get the next great MotoGP rider from right here in the United States? You're out there somewhere, and I'll go to the track and I'll cheer you on. But if you end your life before you ever get there, I won't get that opportunity, and the world will lose the only one of you ever made. I love riding. It's an experience that I wish more people could enjoy. If you ride, you know what I'm about to talk about. That perfect day, the wind's at your back, the sun's not in your eyes, the temperature's just right, the tires are sticky, and you can break into and accelerate out of the curves with control and confidence. Everything's right. I've experienced that on rides in the deserts of New Mexico, in the hill country of Texas, and on the way to and from the grocery store here in DFW, when everything is right and nothing is better than riding a motorcycle. And when most things are wrong, it's still better than driving in a car. And that's why I'm convinced that God loves motorcycles. There's something spiritual about riding that if you look for it and acknowledge it, you can get a peek into who God is. And I found nothing on earth that is quite like riding a motorcycle. It's that good. But it requires some discipline, it requires some self-reflection, and it requires some training and practice. But it is worth it. Till next week, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road. There are multiple ways to support the channel. You can become a member on YouTube at mcrider.com/member or support the channel through Patreon at mcrider.com/support. Either way, you'll get full access to the forum and the field guides, which will further the training that we release here on a weekly basis.